Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. We are leaping into week two. A couple of brief announcements, procedural stuff. It will usually be sometime between Wednesday and Thursday that I will grade your material. If you submit something late for some reason, please work with me and drop me an email. Stuff happens occasionally, I understand, but that's going to make sure I don't miss providing you feedback you deserve for doing your work. Today, I want to discuss one of the topics that we're covering in Module 2. Which, a lot of people are confused about. It's what are we talking about in this course when we talk about bias? Now, the term bias carries with it all sorts of connotations. And often, bias is a term that in science, and sociology is a science, it carries different connotations than it would normally do. So I want today to examine scientific bias, everyday bias, objectivity. What do all these terms mean, and what's the difference? It's important that you know what we're talking about here, okay? So this is a very brief overview. So in common terms, bias is a preference for or against an idea. Right? I'm biased towards vanilla ice cream as opposed to strawberry ice cream. I like this person, but I don't like this person. Right? That kind of thing. That's a kind of everyday use of the term. Let's not get that confused with scientific bias. Okay? In scientific research, bias is a systematic deviation between observations or interpretations of data and an accurate description of a phenomenon. Let me give you an example from the social sciences. Yesterday was Mother's Day. Today is Monday. Single parents, right? Single parents economically fare worse overall as a group, not individually necessarily, but as a cohort of people in the United States, versus two-parent embedded families, okay, or in terms of economic resources, okay. I was raised in a single-parent family, and a lot of people were struggling and working hard, and it's great, but I don't want to necessarily hear the bad news. But I have to acknowledge that this is what the data are saying without providing any explanation for why that's the case. In fact, it's a pretty simple explanation. It's what we call what's called in economic sociology and economics an economy of scale. Two wage earners are better than one, right? Regardless of whatever the family form is. So if I'm to sidestep the propensity for scientific bias, I have to acknowledge this. Now, that doesn't mean you can be free of bias or totally objective. It's almost impossible. Scientific objectivity is a property of aspects of science. It expresses the idea that claims, the methods that we use, the results, and the individuals who are doing the science themselves are not or should not be influenced by particular perspectives, value judgments, community bias, or personal interest, to name a few relevant factors. We get into this a lot when we look at, for example, pharmaceutical companies are often there's a problem with this objectivity. But in the social sciences, we can get at the objectivity by knowing everyone has a sort of preferential tendency or a bias. We have an expectation of how processes are going to emerge. We have to construct our research in a way that allows us to sidestep, the issues that are going to cause problems for us. So keep this in mind as you're reading through bias. It's a theme that we're going to be revisiting throughout this class. So it's something you need to be aware of. So I hope everybody has a great week. I'm looking forward to working with you on week 2. And have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a great and productive week.